High in the mountains of Romsdalen, Norway, Tobias takes his young daughter Nora to visit the legendary troll peaks. According to folklore, 13 trolls once gathered there for a wedding, but partied so hard they lost track of time and turned to stone with the sunrise. Nora, now growing older, dismisses fairy tales, much to Tobias' disappointment. He reminds her that belief is the key to seeing what others can't. 2 decades later, Nora is an archaeologist leading a dig on the Atlantic coast in northwestern Norway. The expedition is on the verge of collapse. After 6 months with no significant finds and dwindling funds, morale is low. But Nora's determination pays off when she unearths a dinosaur skull, sparking celebration among the crew. Meanwhile, deep in the Dovre mountains, a construction crew begins blasting through rock to make way for a new railway. Environmental activists protest the destruction, but are brushed aside. When the explosives detonate, a distant, guttural roar emerges from the depths, triggering a catastrophic collapse. Not all workers make it out alive. The seismic event is immediately picked up by the Norwegian armed forces. A reconnaissance plane is dispatched, and Sigrid, the analyst overseeing visual feeds, compiles footage showing strange formations. The incident is deemed serious enough to alert Prime Minister Barrett. En route to the military base, Barrett is briefed on the mysterious damage. Her advisor, Andreas, points out that some of the images resemble giant footprints. Barrett laughs it off but orders Andreas to keep the media quiet and seek scientific consultation. Nora is abruptly pulled from her dig and flown to the base. There, Andreas welcomes her and escorts her into a confidential meeting with Barrett, top military brass, and fellow scientists. Nora introduces herself as a paleontologist but is quickly dismissed. Dinosaurs are long extinct, after all. The room debates possible causes: sinkholes, tectonic shifts, gas pockets. Nora interrupts, pointing out that the craters shown in the photos aren't geological, they're footprints. She's met with skepticism. Monsters, after all, are the stuff of fiction. Just then, Sigrid hacks into an activist's phone and plays a live-streamed clip from the collapse site. The footage is chilling. As debris rains down, a faint roar echoes, and amidst the chaos, a massive, humanoid silhouette lingers in the shadows. Elsewhere in Lesia, an elderly couple notices their dog barking frantically. Moments later, the earth shakes violently. They take shelter in the basement as their house crumbles around them. When they emerge, the home is gone, but the dog is unharmed. Back at the base, military leaders still refuse to accept the idea of a giant creature. Nora urges them to act before it's too late. Impressed by her resolve, Barrett appoints her as the official scientific advisor and sends her with Andreas to investigate the Lesia incident. During the flight, Andreas asks Nora how she got into paleontology. She shares that her love of nature and fairy tales led her to search for real-life monsters underground. Her mother died when she was 10, and her father, a folklore professor, became increasingly lost in myth as he aged. They've been estranged for years. Andreas confesses his dream of being a writer and is thrilled by the possibility of a supernatural explanation. But the conversation ends abruptly as they arrive. Captain Christopher briefs them, tracks lead from the river to a valley, then suddenly vanish 2 miles south. Despite a full sweep, no further evidence has been found. Nora interviews the elderly couple. They didn't see much, just a massive figure blocking the sun. What they did hear was a haunting, melodic howl. Investigating the site, Nora notes a strange, pungent smell she dubs hypernature and checks for biological traces with UV light, but finds only dirt and stone. They travel to the spot where the tracks abruptly stop. The thermal scanner reveals nothing but mountains. Nora theorizes that the creature may possess camouflage. To get answers, she decides to visit Tobias. At his remote home, Tobias answers the door with a gun drawn, especially wary of the armed soldier at Nora's side. But when he recognizes his daughter, he agrees to let them in, after grabbing some pants. His home is covered in research, a chaotic web of notes and clippings centered on a mythical creature, the troll. Nora urges him to focus and examine the footage, explaining that his earlier research might help. Tobias, however, is certain this confirms his lifelong belief in trolls. He argues that Christianity wiped out Norway's mythical beings, and fairy tales were rewritten to mock them. He believes the government always knew the truth and locked him away when he got too close. Nora is skeptical, but Tobias is too excited to care. He joins the investigation. At the site of the missing tracks, he immediately spots inconsistencies in the terrain. For a moment, he revels in the feeling of adventuring with his daughter again, but Nora is not ready for a reunion. Suddenly, the smell returns. The sky darkens. A mountain opens its eye. The terrain itself begins to move, revealing the truth: a camouflaged troll, awakened and now towering above them. It roars, and the team scrambles back to the helicopter. The footage they capture is undeniable. At last, the base acknowledges the truth. Christopher escorts the team to his camp, where Nora cautiously refers to it as an unknown creature. Tobias, however, declares it outright: a troll, enraged by humanity's desecration of nature. The military dismisses him as delusional and ejects him. Nora pleads for more time, but she's ignored. The brass prepare a full-scale military assault. Frustrated, Nora prepares to leave, but Tobias convinces her this is no fairy tale. This troll is ancient, scared, and angry. Nature, he reminds her, always strikes back. She stays. After some convincing, Christopher agrees to smuggle them aboard his helicopter, on the condition they follow orders. Night falls over Heidel. While the military sets up their ambush, Tobias and Nora recall the fairy tales of her youth and share a rare moment of reconciliation. The troll appears, pausing as if it senses their presence. Despite Tobias' warnings, the soldiers open fire. It does nothing but provoke the troll's wrath. Chaos erupts. As the monster destroys everything, the group hides with a wounded soldier. When the troll sniffs out blood and devours him, Tobias tries a gentler approach. Incredibly, the troll responds to Tobias' calm voice. But another truck fires on it, breaking the fragile peace. In its rage, the troll accidentally strikes Tobias. As he dies in Nora's arms, he whispers, "The palace. The king. Home," urging her to remember what she once believed. Back at base, Nora buries herself in her father's research. When Christopher and Andreas visit, they bring grim news: the troll has vanished, and the military is planning an airstrike. Nora believes they need another strategy. She recalls that trolls hated church bells and suggests using them as a weapon. The military is skeptical, but Christopher reminds them they've exhausted all other options. Barrett reluctantly agrees. The troll appears at Hunderfossen Family Park, sowing chaos. Amid the panic, a young girl stands frozen. Just as a helicopter crashes toward her, the troll catches it, saving her life. Now a public spectacle, the troll is global news. Back at the base, Barrett refuses to acknowledge Nora's success and dismisses her. Christopher, however, stands by her. In a private meeting, Barrett is told about unauthorized missiles. Andreas objects, and is promptly kicked out. Disillusioned, he quits and joins Nora as the capital begins evacuation. While stuck in traffic, Nora pores over Tobias' notes. References to a gatekeeper and a king point her to the royal palace. They rush there and are led in by Rickard Sinding, the Lord Chamberlain, who once knew Tobias. Sinding explains that the palace was built atop the ancient home of the Troll King. The Christianization of Norway wiped out the trolls, ambushing the royal family and luring the king to his doom, trapping him in the mountains. 12 years ago, Tobias discovered this, and Sinding had him institutionalized to protect the secret. Nora is furious, but time is short. They explore a hidden chamber filled with troll bones. UV light burns them, confirming the troll's weakness to direct sunlight. Nora calls Christopher to set a trap. They'll lure the troll with one of the bones and destroy it with artificial sunlight. As the troll enters the city, the military attacks again, futilely. Barrett authorizes the missile strike. Sigrid intercepts the launch and hacks the system to delay the strike. Christopher mobilizes his squad to set up UV lights, while Nora and Andreas drive a truck carrying the troll skull through Oslo. The troll gives chase. At one point, they lose the skull, but the troll recovers it and grieves for its lost family. Spotting its reflection in a glass building, the troll becomes startled and drops the skull, shattering it. Devastated, it goes berserk, chasing them again. As the trap site nears, Nora and Andreas leap from the truck just in time. The troll steps into the trap. Dozens of UV lights blaze on, searing its skin. As missiles approach, the pilot hesitates. There are civilians nearby. At base, Sigrid punches a superior to stop the launch. It works. But Nora, overwhelmed with compassion, shuts down the UV lights. The troll hesitates. She approaches it with kindness, asking it to return to the mountains. The troll listens, but dawn breaks. The sunlight turns the troll to stone, then dust. In the aftermath, Andreas jokingly asks what to name the new hill. Nora replies, Tobias Boulder. When Barrett arrives, she thanks Nora. Andreas reminds her that he's now a writer and leaves with Nora, wondering aloud, what if there are more trolls still buried in the Dovre? Deep beneath the mountains, something stirs beneath the rocks.